And showtime. Ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year and welcome to the first episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup for the year 2021. To look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I'm executive editor of the ChannelPro Network, also a host of this program. I am joined this week and every week by my co-host Eric Simpson, a business transformation and improvement advisor to MSPs and other IT pros. Eric, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Rich. Looking forward to a much brighter year this year than last.
Brighter in every way, absolutely. We're looking for onwards and upwards in 2021, and so if nothing else, good to turn the page on 2020. Did you have a great holiday break?
I did, Rich. I actually took a little bit of time off during the holidays, which was, well received by me and my family. So yeah, that was nice. And you, Rich?
Me as well. In fact, I took a longer break than I can even remember taking before, and because there really wasn't all that much to do out there, I was really just kind of sitting around a lot, resting, catching up. So it was actually kind of nice. It wasn't maybe the most exciting break I've ever taken, but it was very restful. And after 2020, that was exactly what I needed.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like we're both ready to get into today's topics, which, really interesting news while we were out, and looking forward to covering it.
Yeah, let's dive into that top story because this did break actually while we were both on vacation around the holidays, and I've been looking forward to talking about this with you because you were there in the managed services market from the get go. You go back, so this will resonate with you in a way that it might not for absolutely everybody in the audience. But as we know, because this came up last year, for some months now, SolarWinds has been considering officially, although a lot of us think this is really it's going to happen. It's a when, not an if. But officially, SolarWinds has been considering whether or not to spin off its SolarWinds MSP business unit as a entirely separate, publicly traded business. And one of the issues that came up in regards to that is, okay, if that's going to happen, obviously they're going to need a new name, and what might that name be? And so before I reveal, because they announced what that name will be in December, but before I announce what that name is, it's worth going back and remembering how SolarWinds MSP came into being. In 2013, SolarWinds bought Enable, which was one of the pioneering companies, one of the inventors, essentially, of RMM software as we know it in the MSP world today. A few years after that, they bought a company called Logic Now, which made a cloud-based RMM system. They took their Enable business, their new Logic Now business, they sort of stapled them together and called that SolarWinds MSP. So now they're looking for a name for this new independent SolarWinds MSP business. And as I said in the ChannelPro Weekly podcast this week, Eric, everything old is new again. They are going to be called Enable. Enable is back, ladies and gentlemen. So that is the name, and they didn't say this is something we'll do if the business is spun off. They're going to rebrand as Enable one way or the other, and if I'm correct and they do wind up becoming publicly listed and their own business, that'll be the name of the company, Enable. What do you think about that, Eric? Because like I said, you remember Enable when they were brand new.
Yeah, it just seems like yesterday when I did some work for Enable. Enable was a client of ours. We did some webinars for them to help them recruit partners. We did some speaking engagements at some of their events. This was this was right at that at the I wouldn't say right at the very beginning, but the ramp up and the acceleration of the MSP ideology and the framework and all that. I mean, those were heady days. There were a few RMM competitors that were really kind of, challenging each other for the lead, but Enable always had just, excellent reviews and feedback from the partners that I worked with. I mean, their products were, very, very well regarded. It was, great support from the organization, great organization, from the get-go. So, and timing couldn't be better, right, Rich, for a little bit of rebranding right now. What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because SolarWinds, they've been in the news a little bit recently in regard to some brand tarnishing, let's say, issues. So yeah, it's a great time to maybe be adopting a new moniker, and and what you were just talking about is obviously exactly what they are banking on, that there's brand equity around that Enable name that they will be able to take advantage of. I
Mhm.
will say, because we talked about this on the Channel Pro Weekly podcast this week, and my co-host and our guest both raised the issue that there are plenty of MSPs out there who remember Enable from the old days, the original days.
And misenable the old enable, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there is at least the risk that when people hear that name, they think old school on premises RMM, and the new Enable business is way more than that. They have an on prem RMM product, but also a cloud based one, all sorts of other security software and other things. So they will have to kind of combat that particular brand association with a very narrow sliver of what they do. But they will, this will not be an entirely new, unfamiliar name that they have to seed out there with managed service providers, which is very useful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for those partners that have that have been around, as long as we have that remember, I think it'll be a welcome. It won't be because a lot of times when organizations rebrand, they come up with these really you know I think names that don't really reflect, the vision or the essence of the organization. It's like, I mean, what does Accenture mean, right? I don't, so, going back to something that has that history and that provenance, and, they can stand up and say, hey, we were here, we were a catalyst of the MSP transformation in the industry. I think that holds a lot of value.
Well, something else that holds a lot of value, obviously, is having a good, solid business plan, and that's a nice little segue into your tip of the week, Eric.
Absolutely, Rich. So, I'm going to challenge everyone out there today to reevaluate your business strategy. I mean, these have been very turbulent and uncertain times. 2020, going back just a minute to remind everybody, was very reactionary, right? We were forced to do things for customers that, we were not expecting, were not planned. We kind of, jumped in the pool with everyone and said, we'll get through this together. And as a result, a lot of us came out, better for it. Customers appreciated us. Some of us struggled and had some challenges, but for both types of business owners, those that, saw tremendous opportunity and took advantage of it, and as well as those that struggled and maybe, were challenged and maybe lost some customers and some revenue because of the pandemic affecting their customers' businesses and things like that, and downsizing and whatnot. I challenge you to reevaluate your business strategy moving forward, especially for 2021, if you haven't yet already. Rich, one of the tried and true events in all the companies that I had co-founded in the past had always been kind of that January retreat where we sit down, with the team and figure out how we did the year before and what we're going to do differently moving forward. And some of the time it was just a continuation of a longer term strategy, like a 3 or 5 year strategy to say, okay, we're on track, we're doing this, let's continue to accelerate, or this isn't working, let's tweak and tune. I think if I were doing that today with a team of people in my organization, I would be forced to reevaluate those longer term plans and adjust strategy. And I've been talking to not only a lot of MSP business owners recently through my practice, but also with colleagues in the industry, and asking them, as a result of what happened in 2020 with you and your business, has it forced you to reevaluate your overall business strategy moving forward? And I think 99 out of 100% of folks that I asked that said yes, absolutely. So I'm challenging channel pros to look at things and don't, remember, when you have a business plan or a business strategy, even if it's long term, it is not an immovable object, right? It is guidance to help you forecast where you will be and what you have to do to get there based on current data. Data is different and new now. So the guidance today, Rich, is simply to reevaluate the strategy, make adjustments. Don't make big sweeping changes, but look at what you're doing. I mean, maybe you're forced to reflect on the, the markets that you support. Holy cow, there have been some vertical markets that were severely impacted by the pandemic. And I know partners that have a preponderance of customers in those vertical markets that were super negatively affected. So, having all your eggs in, one vertical market is seen as a positive thing by a lot of strategists to say, oh, when you niche down and you become verticalized, you're able to increase your pricing, you become more valuable because you understand that market. But again, the perspective is, well, how impacted potentially can that vertical market be to economic downturns, to things like this? So I think it's, not only forcing us to think about things moving forward, but the more strategic business owners probably have already had these discussions prior to now.
Yeah, I'll test something out with you on this because this may be a little bit going beyond what you have in mind. But I'll tell you what popped into my head as you were kind of talking about this, and it's in a different part of business management. But everyone's familiar with this concept of the zero-based budget, right? So instead of starting the budget from last year's budget, you clear the slate. You start from nothing and build from there. And the idea is the benefit is that you're really certain that you're only spending what you need to spend, you're only spending in the right areas. And as you were talking about that, I was thinking this might be a good time to zero base the business plan, basically, given how different the world is and how much has changed in the last year, rather than building off of what you've been doing in the past, the old world of IT, if you will. This might be a good time to zero base the business plan and really fundamentally strategically rethink what you do and how you intend to grow and what you're all about. Too much, Eric?
I like it so much that should have been the title of the tip of the week. Zero base your business plan for 2021. Thank you, Rich.
All right. Well, there you go. I have actually added value to the tip of the week for a change, so that's good news. Oh, that leaves us. Speaking of good news, I suppose that leaves us with time for just one more story this week, folks, and it comes to us from the UK, and it involves a gentleman there named Thomas Dodd, who may have had just a little bit too much to drink, and in fact, when I say his name is Thomas Dodd, his name was Thomas Dodd. It seems like he had maybe, like I say, a touch too much to drink on Christmas Eve. He woke up in the morning and discovered that overnight he had legally changed his name to Celine Dion. Now, why did he change his name to Celine Dion? He's a big fan. He was watching a concert on TV or something like that. That's about all he remembers. He went online. Apparently, in the UK, this only costs about $122. So Thomas Dodd is now Celine Dion, and it's one thing, Eric, to wake up in the morning with a bad hangover. It's another to wake up with a totally new name.
Well, you know what, everyone watching, comment below. And if you were to change your name for 2021, what would it be? Let us know.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your co-host for the 5-Minute Roundup, Mick Jagger.
Nice.
In any event, thank you so much for joining us. That's all the time we've got this week on the 5-Minute Roundup, folks. We're going to be back again next week with another episode for you. If you like the show, you want to take a look at some episodes you may have missed in the past, you want to know about the new ones when they become available, please go to the ChannelPro Network channel on YouTube and become a subscriber. If you click the little bell icon there, you're going to get notified, actually, when the new episodes go up. You want to read more about all the many things that are happening at SolarWinds, get great business growth advice for your company. Your destination should be channelpronetwork.com because we have got terrific new content for you there every single day. To learn more about Eric and the work he does with his clients, please go to ericsimpson.com. That is ERICK Simpson.com. So once again, folks, thank you for joining us. We will talk to you next week. Until then, please enjoy the rest of your week. Eric and I are enjoying the rest of your week already.
Ready.